Hey, folks, welcome back to FreepCast. My name is Rob Murray. I'm here with managing editor Joe Spear. And Joe, it does seem like some of these restaurants sometimes are here one week and gone the next. We lost another one.
Yeah, MC's Garage. It's been here for a couple years, I feel like, but you never know. You say 2 years and it was here 5 years. But
It's been 5 years? Okay.
I don't know. I think it was more like two. But it's connected to the Muddy Cow chain. You know, they're not just independents or anything. And they decided to come into Mankato, as many these chains are starting to do. And the novelty of the place was they fill up the beer from the bottom. They have a magnetic device at the bottom, and they put it on the beer machine, and it fills up from the bottom, and it seals everything. And it's cold, and it usually wasn't foamy. I guess you probably could get it foamy if you wanted to, but it had some novelty, and I don't know if apparently that wasn't enough for people to just go watch a beer filled interestingly. I thought the food was, standard bar food. I did like they had a good chicken salad, I thought. And they're in the place before them, Wings and Rings or something like that, also did not stay long there. It's in that spot right by the mall, but it's kind of got its back to the mall, so I don't know if the visibility is great. And
It's in the same piece of real estate where the Old Country Buffet was,
right?
correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which also died.
They were here for a while.
Yeah, they were here for a long time.
We had gone to that number of times, and that whole chain eventually went out of business. It was a great concept at one point in time for a business, but trends fade, and so that went out as well.
Yeah.
Couple interesting other little news tidbits. 9 fire departments were called to the Ponderosa landfill last night, about 6:30. It was a hot day. They don't really know how it started, but Ponderosa is like 6 miles southwest of Mankato, and there's no fire hydrants out there, so you've got to call the water in. So they called 9 fire departments who have these tanker trucks, presumably it sounded like they had to be refilled a couple times, but eventually got it under control. So I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in landfills that can be flammable.
Oh, I'm sure.
So anyway, took care of that. You were on an interesting crime story this week, a finger-licking felony, we call it, robbery at KFC.
At the KFC, yeah. And that was, I think the best part of the article was the headline.
Was that your headline?
It was.
Okay. I thought it was, yeah.
It was semi-unusual. It's not often you have somebody come and demand a paycheck they think they're owed and then be told they'll have to come back tomorrow, and then to return that same night with a gun.
Yeah.
I think this person worked there. And by the way, this is all allegedly.
Yes, of course.
Nothing proven. She may be completely innocent. We don't know. But as far as what the police say, came in with a gun and took whatever money she could find in the office.
Yeah, so. That's not an employee who's happy or satisfied with the job.
Right.
Didn't go over onboarding much, I guess, or something. Another interesting crime story. A survivor of a sexual assault from several years ago, 7 or 10 maybe even, here in Mankato, when she was young, in high school, I believe, a man climbed through her window and sexually assaulted her. And never was always a cold case until a few months or weeks ago when police came up with DNA evidence and charged a guy. And she was telling us her story because she thought she would be forgotten. And more, I think we're finding people, victims of crime, want to come forward and tell their story. Even the difficult ones like sexual assault that were, of course, very taboo 10, 15, 20 years ago to even talk about. But now you're finding more and more women coming forward just to tell their story and to, get justice, basically. Always a courageous effort on their part when they come and put it in the newspaper in front of 10,000 people.
So you think there's a trend or there's more people coming forward now than there was
I can't
in the
say
past?
empirically, but it seems anecdotally we're seeing more and more of these cases. When we had the other one just a few months ago, where the victim again, in a case the judge called this crime scene like a slasher movie. Came forward, and that guy went to prison for a long time. So we're seeing that. There wasn't a lot of other news going around this week. Not a lot of sports news, although it was cool to see the story Kevin Dudley did on the 2 MSU hockey players who are now in the pros.
That was nice.
Yeah,
I sort of lost track of those guys, so it was nice to see that.
Yeah, was it Morton and Amott?
Yes.
Yeah, and nice.
Sam Morton famously was the star player that didn't follow Mike Hastings to Wisconsin.
Right.
He stayed in Mankato.
And
good for him.
Yeah, we were talking about Hastings, and maybe we talked about this. Didn't have a great year at Wisconsin. Had lost some of his really good players, NHL players, I think, to Michigan State or Michigan because of some dispute. Someone who follows this was telling me about the coaching dispute. And so...
What was the dispute? Was it like poaching players?
I've heard, that Hastings wants you to practice really hard if you want to earn a spot in the lineup.
He's a tough coach, I think. Yeah. People know that.
And some of these guys who are already got their ticket punched to the NHL, they're having none of it, I guess. Like, I'm a great player. I don't need to bust it in practice. This is what I'm kind of hearing anecdotally. And they're just like, well, that's the way it's going to be. We'll go play somewhere else. I'm not sure the Wisconsin boosters are happy about this, but I haven't seen a lot about it. But that's kind of what I understand about how he can be a tough coach. And
because he worked. I mean, he built a national reputation in Mankato with players that were not drafted.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and maybe he's not used to dealing with the egos of some of those players.
It's quite possible. Wisconsin does draw blue chip players. That program, and then they leave after a year because they go to the NHL.
Yeah, true enough. So that's interesting on the sports front. Had a good Free Press Knowledge and Lecture series last night with Allen Eskens, the local mystery writer who has 8 or 10 books, very successful.
Yep.
And he was an attorney in town. We both knew him from covering him as an attorney and turned writer. A couple fun facts about him. When he was growing up, he did not like to read. Didn't like to read. Didn't like to read in college. Didn't like to read in law school. Used a lot of Cliff Notes and stuff like that to get through law school.
I don't know how you get through law school wanting to read. Just when my daughter went through that first year, was nothing but reading.
Yeah.
Hundreds of pages a day.
He's an interesting guy, but he eventually did, come to like to read in the novels and the creative stuff. And he kind of gave a really interesting little thing about his process of writing and how he took notes all the time when he read something that was really good. And he's gone to seminars and classes and writers' workshops. And, as we know, he studies and researches things from his legal background that he knows will make interesting content. But he tries to be a page turner, he says. He tries to write his books, they don't have to dwell on a lot of details and descriptions, kind of get to the story, keep the story moving. And
I can verify that. I read a few of those books, and he's almost Dan Brown-like in the way you have to go to the next chapter.
Okay. And he said, so that means you're a successful writer if you can get people, if you can get people to be hooked and have page-turner books. And the last book he did was called The Quiet Librarian, the most recent one. It's kind of a historical nonfiction, but it starts out with the protagonist who's the librarian in Farmington, Minnesota, but we find out her past was being a very accomplished female woman army fighter in the Bosnian-Serbian War, which was one of the most brutal wars in the last 30 years. And, claims of genocide and things like that. And he said when he researched that, after he wrote it, he kind of had to take a break because it's pretty intense. So he says, if you're gonna read that book, be ready for the intensity of it.
Yeah, I remember reading about. That was the era. Wasn't that Slobodan Milosevic,
yes,
who was absolutely a piece of shit?
Mid 90s, right? Mid 95s, and he had somebody. I think he actually got charged and convicted of war crimes, if I remember right.
I think he got killed in the streets.
Could be that.
I think the people got a hold of him and they killed him.
Yeah.
Unless I'm thinking of some other world leader who was also not good.
Yeah. It's hard to look that up. It's a good thing we have Google these days. But
yeah, go ahead and Google that, folks.
yeah, interesting guy, Allen Eskens. And I think we had 50, 60 people there in a really nice space. We thank the Blue Earth County Historical Society for letting us use that space.
Speaking of thanks.
It's free.
Want to hit our sponsor quick?
Oh, yes. Thanks.
Sorry, sponsor. We'll get better at this.
Podcast is sponsored by Minnesota Valley Federal Credit Union, happily serving those who live, work, or do business in Blue Earth, Nicollet, Seward, Waseca, Brown, or Whatwon counties since 1934. And we did give them credit for sponsoring the event last night as well.
Good. And that you can find that on our YouTube page, right?
YouTube, yes. And we usually stream it live as well. So really good talk. So if you missed it, it's worth going back to the YouTube. And that's not on our paywall or anything. So
when he gave his talk, was it a talk about his writing, or did he he didn't read from his book? Right?
He did not read. Okay. No, he saw it as a lecture series. So he tried to give somewhat of an interesting lecture about writing and his process and his background, which was very interesting, growing up in Missouri and the Ozarks and a lot of different experiences. But yeah, and he said. His first big book, The Things We Bury, right?
The
Life We Bury. It was funny because he Googled it and some band named themselves after that book.
Oh.
And it was, he went to listen to him, and it was the worst heavy metal band he'd ever heard. So
that tracks.
Anyway, Mr. Ask Us, Mark Fishnick, had a question everybody wants to know about. Why do the sirens go off? And it doesn't look like it's a bad storm, and then it turns out not to be a bad storm. And so it was an Ask Us question. We've had that one, I'm guessing, every year.
We've probably
for
had
20 years.
a dozen times at least.
But anyway, the fine folks at Blue Earth County Emergency, Paul Barta at the Sheriff's Office and Eric Weller, Emergency Services, told Mark, come on up. We want to talk to you in person. We're not doing this over the phone. This is important stuff.
Super important stuff. It has to be done in person this
time. Mark was taken aback because usually people want to just answer his questions and get him off the phone, he says. But they went over a 45-minute overview of how the system works. And, one of the questions is, why can't you just turn it on in Good Thunder and not Eagle Lake? It doesn't work like that. It's a system-wide. And they are responsible for turning it on. And they are doing that when they get confirmation. Well, storm spotters give confirmation. It's National Weather Service trained storm spotters. They have the responsibility for flipping the switch, they say.
The spotters do, or the
sheriff's
office?
Yeah,
okay.
The emergency management.
When they get a report from a trained spotter.
When there's an imminent threat of tornadoes or winds in excess of 70 miles an hour.
Okay.
Usually determined by the National Weather Service. And system operates now means all the sirens go off if there's a weather warning issued anywhere in the county. It's everything or nothing.
And you're reading that from Joe or from Mark's story?
Ask Us.
Okay.
And so
mark your calendars for this time next year, folks. We'll see that question again in the Ask Us column.
Oh, yeah. Some reader just suggested dividing the county into quadrants. Suggests those are all not workable solutions for various reasons. First, storm fronts move fast. Dangerous cells can intensify quickly. Plus, in this part of the country, severe summer storms almost always move west to east, and they also have a tendency to go from southwest to northeast. So there's a good chance a dangerous storm is going to spill over any arbitrary lines set up in the county anyway. So there you go.
And because we have the city or the cities of North Mankato and Mankato are in separate counties, that's why they sound off in both counties, right? When it's
yes.
When it's a Danger for Mankato. It'll
I think
also
they do it for North Cato for sure. I don't know if it goes all the way up to St. Peter, if it's just Mankato.
well, it's a confusing system, but I think the bottom line is it's the way it is for safety.
Yeah.
And if we have to get you worried about a storm and nothing happens because we notify too many people, I guess that's better than not doing it at all.
Yeah.
And having people not be prepared.
Right. Not being prepared is when disaster happens, right? Or you think nothing's going to happen. Some people get into that, and it's dangerous not to do that. It's dangerous to do that, to think, it's nothing. Because that's the time it's going to be something like the St. Peter tornado, 98. Speaking of summer and weather, it might be fun to let listeners know, or maybe they're not familiar with the Mankato area, what there is to do in the summer in Mankato. You got some favorite things you like to do? We did different things when we had kids, but I still like to do a few things.
I think my favorite thing to do in the summer is taking a Moondogs game.
I'm with you there.
You can grab a nice cold beer and just sit underneath the bleachers there and watch really good baseball.
It's really good baseball. It's a
Pretty
fun
good price.
atmosphere. That stadium is beautiful since they remodeled it. What we've been doing is going, and the Free Press has tickets, so that's kind of nice. But we go and then just upgrade them for a few dollars to the dog pound, because you can do that, and then you get a couple of drinks with that upgrade, and then you get a variety of food for free. So, and then it's kind of, you can walk around in the dog pound, you can sit where you want. It's kind of a cool thing that we found to do. I've also, in a silent auction, won the fancy tickets where you get waitress service above the kind of above the dugouts there. And that's really, and it's got nice swivel chairs and a table. And again, you get a few drink tickets and your food. And it's a really cool place to watch the game from, because you're up above everybody. And it's the waitresses are there all the time, making sure you have something.
I tried to go there. I tried to go there one time just for a story. I wanted to talk to some of the people sitting in there, and the guy would not let me in there.
Oh, really?
And I said, I'm not here to watch the game. I'm here to just talk to some people, and I'm getting out of here. Nope. Can't go in there.
We didn't, their press people didn't know about us, or what?
No. No. And
because that's a fairly new iteration, that little spot.
It was for that piece I did, I think, last summer.
Oh, for that magazine?
Or 2 summers ago for the magazine on baseball. We went to
baseball parks.
New Ulm.
Yeah,
has a really great amateur league baseball park that if you want something fun to do, go there, because it's a throwback to the 50s.
Yeah, and
it's
I
fantastic.
think that is the one where they say Babe Ruth played? Somewhere over New Ulm, they have a monument where Babe Ruth played.
He played in
or Sleepy Eye. That's Sleepy Eye.
It's Sleepy Eye.
Yeah.
Because we were gonna, I think Casey and I were gonna go there last year, and they just, I'm not sure what happened.
It was bad weather, I think.
It was weather, or the schedule just didn't line up, but we were going to go there, and it just didn't work out. But
yeah, New Ulm is great for baseball, and I have not been to Johnson Park, but it sounds really cool.
It's fun.
And it's fun, and you can always stop at the
Shell's
Brewery, and they got a really nice tap room over there with a really nice deck overlooking the Cottonwood River, and it's all shaded. It's one of the shadier decks if you're going to go anywhere, and it's really hot. It's really nice, and it's up a little bit, so there's a breeze there. So that's cool to do. But Moondogs is good. I like going to the Chankaska Winery. There's 4 or 5 wineries around here. I've been to most of them. And a lot of people like Indian Island, the Javens, and then there's Morgan Creek. So there's things like that to do. Have you, did you ever go to Bray Park by Madison Lake?
I think so. I used to take my son fishing over there.
Yeah, that was a good place to bring kids, fishing and swimming. But I'm not a big fan of, swimming on that beach, because it's not that great. But the picnic area around it and kind of up above, it's got a nice breeze coming off the lake, and it's shady, and again, a nice place where you could just, if you want to sit out by a lake and watch the lake, you could do it there. Other summer things.
Well, I was just talking to
patios.
Former Chief Public Defender Scott Kutcher.
Yeah.
Who was telling me about all the kayaking he's doing now.
Oh, right.
On our area waterways.
He's a big fan of the Swan Lake,
He is.
kayaking on Swan Lake.
I didn't know he was a kayaker, but I guess he's been doing quite a bit of it.
Yeah, and he does the rivers. He gets serious. He'll do the rivers when they're flowing pretty high, just being careful and everything.
So yeah, he did invite me out, and I think we're going to go kayaking one of these days.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never been. Again, it's a gem, Swan Lake. I've heard it's a gem, and I've never been there. But it's nice. It's clear water because it's filtered.
Isn't it mostly inaccessible though? It's not. You can't get to it. Really?
I think you can because there's waterfowl hunting.
Waterfowl. Listeners.
Yeah.
Please take us to task for being here forever and not really knowing what Swan Lake has to offer.
We've done stories. They're way in the past.
I can't believe I've never been there though.
Yeah. It's where I think I was there once for something, a story of some kind. And there's Nicollet Conservation Club is out there, right?
Yeah.
So that's a cool thing. Patios. What's your favorite patio for food and beverages?
Favorite patio? Well, the one closest to me is probably, used to be the Mankato Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
It was, stumbling distance.
You could walk to it.
Mankato's not bad.
Yeah.
I like Pub 500 when they have a little fireplace going out there.
Yeah,
it's cool.
In the fall. That's nice.
We have a lot of places in town that have good patios.
Yeah, I like the patio downtown with not the blue bricks, rounders, Atomic Star. That patio I wish they'd figure out how to get some music out there again. But that's a really nice patio just to sit and people watch, and it's got trees and pleasant landscaping.
The Javens Winery is kind of nice too.
Yeah, I've been there once, and they've kind of got it up in you can be under a big tent, or you can just sit out kind of on the lawn. Similar thing with 9 Mile Winery,
which is fairly new.
Yeah, we were talking also Lake Washington County Park, which I want to get to. It sounds like it's really nice. And then 7 Mile Creek Park up by St. Peter, of course, is a great picnic area. That's kind of a neat little creek going through there, and a nice trails through the woods, and nice picnic area.
It's really actually probably one of the true gems of this region.
Yes.
If you've never been out there, take a Saturday afternoon, just take your family, go out to the 7 Mile. You will not regret it. It's fantastic.
Lots of trees, lots of walking trails, and
I've got a nice video from a number of years ago when I threw my beagle into the creek, and he was not happy with me.
But obviously, lots of fun stuff to do in the summer in Mankato. Probably can wrap up with our quote of the week, unless we've got anything else to preview.
Hit the sponsor one more time. Sponsor
is Minnesota Valley Federal Credit Union. Thanks to those folks there. They're making this great journalism come your way. And so give them a shout out if you happen to see them. They serve people who live, work, or do business in Blue Earth, Nicollet, Le Sueur, Waseca, Brown, Whatwan counties since 1934. The quote of the week came from a story we did on MSU international students who've been in the news a lot lately with ICE detentions and revoking their privileges. And now things seem to be settling down. The one student was released from jail, and I know MSU is trying to make a big effort to make them feel at home during the summer. Many of them are not going home during the summer because of worries of getting back in, and they want to finish their degrees. They've invested a lot of time and money in becoming nurses and mechanical engineers, and so they had an ice cream social for them yesterday that we covered up at Highland Park, and the community was invited. University staff was invited. A really nice event, and just to make them feel like, hey, we're here, we got your back, you're important. And so we went up there and talked to some of them, and we also talked to some of the supporters of these students. And one guy is Chuck Severson, who I know, who's been a long time MSU professor and supporter of international students up there. We talked to him, and Chuck's 87 years old. This is what he says about what's going on. What's going on is abominable. It's disgusting. It's not what our country stands for. And to think that kind of pressure would be put on these kids is just terrible. On the other hand, one of the students tried to be upbeat about the situation, but explained the reality of how everybody sees the USA. She says, back home, everyone thinks the USA is the land of opportunity, and you don't want to miss that. And that's Erica Kwai, MSU nursing student from Ghana. So with that, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.